Internet, what is really, really, really good? You know who it is. It's the one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. And of course, I'd like to welcome you guys back to another installment of Triple the Guy Speaks On. Yo, Survivor Series 2016, where fantasy warfare becomes a reality because we have to promote a game that hasn't been good in years. Because yeah, that's what this pay-per-view is about. It's about promoting a subpar wrestling game, which is okay. But I only know that through word of mouth because I haven't played a WWE game in years. The last WWE game I played, and it should be a game that everybody should play, and a game that I wish would get a sequel, is WWE All-Stars. Technically, you can't say that Ukes hasn't made a good wrestling game because Rumble Roses and extension, Rumble Roses Double X, and Wrestle Kingdom 2 exist, so yay. But this is not the place where we're going to argue politics of what Ukes can and cannot do, and things like that, because they're promoting a video game that's bad on a pay-per-view because fantasy warfare is something. But seriously, welcome to Survivor Series 2016, because I don't know. I just don't know anymore. I watched this pay-per-view, and I just don't know anymore. I just don't. How about that? How about that for the review, that I don't know what it is I'm about to do, even though I know I'm about to do it? Regardless of that, let's review a pay-per-view. Because I will say this before we get to the business at hand. One thing that I will applaud is the build-up to this, because you had a lot of people doing a lot of uncharacteristic things, and we will highlight these uncharacteristic things as we go through the matches and stuff like that. And trust me, I don't think this is going to be a long review because not a lot happened, because this is canon, non-canon stuff, so they doing stuff to push forward storylines on their respective shows while being in a Survivor Series tag team match. It's nuts and weird. But for those who don't know, really quickly, just a little history. This is the 30th annual Survivor Series. Survivor Series are matches usually where there are 5-on-5 men's matches, 5-on-5 women's matches, and 5-on-5 tag team matches. Over the years, you know, this has been a little tinker with, screwed around with, depending on whatever we talking about or what year or current storylines and things like that. But it's usually those three types of matches and some matches in between to fill a card up. That is what Survivor Series is and will always be. The thing is that I'm glad they found a way to, you know, reinstall what was an old pay-per-view called Bragging Rights from back in 2009 or 2010, where there was a whole separate pay-per-view for just this, for this Raw versus SmackDown stuff. It was just a whole separate pay-per-view for it. So now it's like, I guess every year this is what Survivor Series is going to be, and I really think that it's better for the pay-per-view itself, because you now had that opportunity to have the quote-unquote word of the day from Michael Cole, dream match. But again, a lot of interesting stuff happened on the build-up and actually in the pay-per-view. So how about I talk about the pay-per-view, because we went over the history of it, because I really think you need to know that. Alright, as usual, I have the results in front of me because I need to know what happened on the pre-show, because I don't watch it. They're not building up storylines. People just wrestling because they need to fill up time, so I'm not going to pay it any attention because that's just how it is. Our first match on the pre-show featured our cruiserweights, with Noam Dar, TJ Perkins, and Rich Swann beating Daivari, Drew Gulak, and Tony Nese after Swann hit a 450 on. 450 standard splash, according to Wikipedia. I don't pay attention to none of this. None of this is important. Speaking of unimportant, Kane beat Luke Harper with a chokeslam in the year 2016. Let me repeat that sentence for you. Kane beat Luke Harper in 2016 with a chokeslam. Go sit in the corner and go think about that. Just yeah. Now, the big money, the main event, the actual pay-per-view, which has a main event in it, which we will talk about later like I said at the beginning, one of the things that I appreciated about Survivor Series was its actual build-up. Because again, like I said earlier, there were people doing uncharacteristic things because I don't know. And there are a couple of highlights during this build-up that as I talk about the matches that these build-ups belong to, I am going to talk about it. So let's talk about a pay-per-view for real, shall we? Our opening match were the women from SmackDown and Raw. SmackDown Live, let me get that correct. SmackDown Live and Raw with the 5-on-5 with Team SmackDown with Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Naomi with Natalya as they coach. And Team Raw with Charlotte, Bayley, The Boss, Nia Jax, and Alicia Fox. And Dana Brooke was with them too because whatever. Actually, before I say that, let's start with this. Last Tuesday on SmackDown Live, one of the funniest things I have ever seen happen in wrestling in a while happened. The hugger, inflatable, wacky, blow-up tubing, whatever the fuck Booty Saxton calls those things. Bayley was in the ring with Team Raw, stomping out Nikki Bella. I don't remember the last time I looked at wrestling and laughed so hard. Because you sit up here wondering, like, what is little Bayley doing out there curb stomping Nikki Bella, though? But I was like, once I got to calm down from that and laughed at it as hard as I was going to and looked at it from this perspective, winning this war between Raw versus SmackDown is so important that you're willing to step out your own shoes to make sure you get it done. And Nikki Bella lost part of her tooth, so that was cool too. So there is that. But I just wanted to I had to highlight that because I don't remember the last time. I remember when I watched it, like, yo, is Bayley up there stomping out Nikki Bella's son? I'm sitting up there like, damn. Anyway, the match. We should do that. Yes, the match that we're supposed to be talking about. Okay. The match technically started before the match started because after everybody made their entrance except Nikki Bella, we go to the back. Nikki Bella had been hit in the head, and Natalya's like, I'm not only the coach, I am now the player coach. We all know that Natalya was the one that hit Nikki Bella in the head because she wanted to be in the match in the first place. That's simple storytelling. That makes sense. So at least that is going to spill over into SmackDown next Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? So the match was alright. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really, nothing like really hot that really happened until like the very end when Bayley hit the belly to belly on Becky Lynch. I kind of looked at that finish, was like, huh? Because I understand the finish, but the finish made no sense to me. As someone who sits here and watches this and dichotomizes it at a somewhat of a competent level because it's wrestling, I understand it from this perspective. With Sasha no longer in the title picture, you need a way to make Bayley look like a competent challenger to Charlotte. You need to do that. So how do you do that? You have Bayley pin the SmackDown Women's Champion clean. That makes sense. This is further cemented for what happened after Bayley won, when Charlotte beat the shit out of her. So, my thing is that how do you sit up here and you shoot a torpedo like that at the character of Becky Lynch at the peril of her character in order to build up Bayley, who you not really gonna cash in on none of this until WrestleMania? It ain't no way that Bayley doesn't win the title before WrestleMania. It makes zero sense. It makes no sense to do anything other than that. because her winning over Charlotte in a one-on-one matchup in WrestleMania is the thing. That's money. If you blow it before that, then that's just bad booking. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where none of this sits. I don't, because my thing is that I don't want to say that, like, I don't want to use the word concern, but it does have my mind thinking, excuse me, on what this does, on what this is going, how this is going to affect Becky Lynch. Because I think Alexa got what it takes to be a great heel champion, but I don't know how quickly do you turn over on that and try to cash in on that and try to win it. But then if Becky ain't in the title picture, who do you have chasing her? You got the only person who because they looked like for 2 seconds they were going to try to get Naomi to chase her. But that was before they was unsure what the hell was going on with Becky Lynch anyhow. You know what I'm saying? And it's like Carmella and Nikki Bella, they still got beef. And Natalia that hit Nikki Bella, so she going to be involved in that feud now. So that side, the SmackDown women's side going to be a mess for a minute. With Charlotte beating the shit out of Bayley, you pretty much know that this is going to be a feud for a while. And Sasha and the boss going to sit and do her thing for a minute. So, and I don't know what they're going to do with Nia Jackson. I have no idea why Alicia Fox was in the damn match in the first place. So, there you have it. There you have it. Moving right along. The Miz versus Sami Zayn. The build-up to this was pretty interesting because the last time we talked to SmackDown Live pay-per-view, Dolph Ziggler did it. He beat him with his career on the line because that's how matches work like that. It looked like up until last Tuesday that this was going to be a match between Dolph Ziggler and Sami Zayn, which I would have liked to see. However, that finish to that match between The Miz and Dolph Ziggler was so fucked up because of what Maurice did, but still. Again, The Miz said what he said, though. He's like, if you can imagine what I'll do to keep it, imagine what I'll do to get it back. So, he's true to his word as far as that goes. But it was a great match, though. It was a great match until that bullshit ended, though. And that seems to be something I say a lot when The Miz is involved in a match. The match was hot. The finish was shit. That's usually how this goes. Maurice over there ringing the bell because Sami Zayn had the Miz in a figure 4. And I think Miz was about to tap out, but Maurice rung the bell like the referee had rung it. And then the Miz rolled him up. So, that is a wrestling match, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea what this is going to do for the title scene or for the Intercontinental title on SmackDown Live, but you gotta feel there's gotta be a rematch for Dolph Ziggler in there somewhere. And it would have been interesting if the title changed brands, but I don't think you might see that at some point. That might be something that might have to happen in WrestleMania, where like titles like the Intercontinental and the US title switch every year or something like that, or you have matches where that can happen, or have inter-promotional matches and stuff like that where the title changes hands. So it should be interesting to see as we get deeper and deeper excuse me, into the brand split, to see how they handle that type of stuff. The 5-on-5 tag team match for Team Raw. You got the New Day, you got Gallows and Anderson, Sheamus and Cesaro, Enzo and Big Cass, and the Shining Stars versus Team SmackDown, where Heath Slater and Rhino, the Hype Bros, American Alpha, the Usos, and Breezango. This, I don't know what the hell was going on. I don't even know how to really, I don't know what I'm sitting up here like, how am I supposed to, review this match when the match was just a clusterfuck of weirdness? Because I will say this. the build up to this match, the surprising thing that happened was Usos did Uso crazy tough, like stuff we don't do now. You know that what they do now, they go for your legs and then put you in that tequila sunrise. No, they jumped over stuff. Usos don't really do that stuff no more. It was like, yo, we'll do this kind of face stuff we used to do when we used to put paint on our faces and chant and stuff. But we some gangsters now, so we can't really do that. That was the one surprising thing I saw. It wasn't surprising as the Bailey thing, but still, it was interesting to see the Usos do that in that type of situation. But the match though, the first 3 or 4 minutes of the match were like kind of nuts because the New Day quickly eliminated Breezango, and then Jey Uso turned right around and kicked Kofi Kingston in the face with a super kick, and then the New Day was eliminated. So I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean, if at all. It's like the thing, because when I sit up here and think about like the eliminations of the match, is if you trying to sit up here and you trying to worm your way and figure out like what does any of this mean, was Gallows and Anderson eliminated American Alpha. The thing was is that Sheamus and Cesaro won the match. Is the only thing you really need to take away from this. Is that the New Day got eliminated at the beginning. Enzo and Cass, the team I still think is going to win the belts at WrestleMania, got eliminated by the Usos. Then Sheamus and Cesaro went for the Usos for a couple of minutes until Cesaro put him in a sharpshooter in Toronto and won the match, and Mick Foley rewarded them with a tag team title shot. So I guess what I'm saying here when it comes to that is I still don't appreciate the whole Sheamus and Cesaro thing the way the best of 7 in it, and I will forever complain about that if you give me a soapbox in which to do so. But I don't know what this does for the SmackDown side of things, because at some point Ronda gonna have to drop the title because he got to go be a politician. So you can't be a politician and wrestle at the same time, but you can be a politician and walk around the streets and go beat people up to save your daughter. Please ask Mike Hagar. So I'm not really sure what the hell any of this means. It was a decent match, you know what I'm saying? It was good to see them tag teams, but it's like it wasn't like a real hype match that really had like stakes for me to actually pay attention or care about anything, because again, these are canon, non-canon matches. So I'm just like, okay, tag teams are wrestling, hooray. So it's just kind of like, And I hate that I'm like, about that, but the match was cool, but I didn't take nothing away from the match. Like, yo, that shit was bad hype. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really get a lot of that from the match itself, but it's going to be interesting to see, because it's like, my thing is that at some point you got to get the belts off the New Day. But I don't know if Sheamus and Cesaro is the team that you do it with. I always felt that should be Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, who the rest of the tag team division should be chasing. But it could be just that Sheamus and Cesaro win, then a week later they drop the titles to them. So I don't know. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see all that shake out or whatever. Moving right along to our Cruiserweight title match between the Brian Kendrick against Kalisto. Here is the thing. Baron Corbin. Because here's the thing. With the new show that's supposed to be, the new Cruiserweight show that's supposed to be coming on after SmackDown Live, called 205 Live or whatever the hell WWE calling that shit, it seemed like sense that Brian Kendrick would lose to Kalisto, so that the show following SmackDown would be in the same place at the same time. But Baron Corbin, I understand that, that they wrote that he got a beef with Kalisto, but Baron Corbin, because The match was cool, but Baron Corbin, I'm like, you really ain't got nothing better for this dude to do. He was supposed to be on Team SmackDown for the men, but we'll talk about that in a second. I'm like, the match was cool, but Baron Corbin, I don't get it. Maybe it's not for me to get. Maybe that, you know what? It's not for me to get, and we just gonna move on. We just gonna move on. The men of Team Raw: KO, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Seth freaking Rollins versus the phenomenal AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and Shane McMahon with James Ellsworth. But let's back up for a second. Shane O'Mac. Yeah. Shane McMahon. Because we just talked about Baron Corbin. Again, Baron Corbin was supposed to be, originally was the one selected for the team. When Baron Corbin got in Shane's face, said he didn't give a shit, and was like, fuck it, go do something else, Daniel Bryan gets in the ring on SmackDown Live, and it's like, we need to find a fifth member. He has this paper in his hand talking about, well, we need to find a fifth member for the team, da-da-da-da-da, and they look at it in the crowd like they want Daniel Bryan, but we know Daniel Bryan can't rather his brain been scrambled for doing too many jumps off the top rope and shit because, wrestling. But then they look over at Shane like, yo, Shane, you should do it, Shane, and it's like, no, Shane, please don't do this. I'm like, okay, we get it, you know what I'm saying? It's, yo, Shane, don't do this. You're good. But Shane does it. The Thing, however, on the 900th episode of SmackDown, The Undertaker comes out and tells them they better not lose, or they'll have him to answer to. I'm kind of like, huh? I'm kind of like, ooh, dead man. I'm just like, why are you even here? What does this even matter? Why? Oh, Edge was there too, because, 900 episodes of SmackDown, but I didn't get that either. I didn't get why The Undertaker would care so much. Well, I understand because he was always on SmackDown, always. He was always one of the flagship wrestlers on SmackDown. So that I get, but I don't get why The Undertaker would. And The Undertaker came out there like, I just ain't coming back for WrestleMania, this, and that, and all this other stuff that I don't think he should be saying because Undertaker need to go sit his old ass down. But that was just weird in and of itself. Weird and in and of itself. And something about James Ellsworth, and the less we talk about that, the better. No offense to James Ellsworth, but anywho, there was a match that took place. That happened. There was a match, and it happened. And lots of things happened in this match. James Ellsworth helped eliminate Braun Strowman. And this was after Shane McMahon jumped off the top rope and put an elbow through his heart. Because Shane just has to jump off some fucking thing because whatever. Some point before that, because I'm just jumping all around, was AJ Styles got Dean Ambrose eliminated on accident purpose. This is going to be important in a couple of seconds. Kevin Owens got disqualified when he hit Styles with the lift of Jericho. And after Jericho was confused because his list was all over the place because Chris Jericho's a damn genius because he got over a piece of fucking paper, was Orton hit it with an RKO. At some point, Shane was finished at the set at the coast to coast. Shane took a spear from Roman Reigns. He was eliminated because he couldn't get back up. Because he got his shoulder up, But he was he was knocked out, so they was like, get him out of here. You know what I'm saying? Some point after this, Dean Ambrose comes back out, getting revenge on AJ. Getting revenge on AJ for getting eliminated earlier. And then there was a Shield triple power bomb, which got AJ Styles eliminated. Some point after this, Seth Rollins was finna do a frog splash, and they got countered into an RKO. So now I have to figure out which was the better RKO counter. The curb stomp at WrestleMania or this frog splash, and I still think it was the curb stomp counter. I'm like, because it looked like he jumped to Randy Orton and Randy Orton just dragged him down, versus the curb stomp RKO where that looked a little more vicious. That looked a little more like a real counter versus Seth just jumping right to Randy Orton and just landing right into an RKO for the counter. So anyway, at some point it was 2-on-1 with Roman Reigns on the Raw side and the Wyatt family on the other. Roman Reigns was about to hit a spear on Bray Wyatt, but Randy Orton took the spear, and he got up, bewildered, this being Roman Reigns, and then he got Sister Abigail, and SmackDown Live won. That was your wrestling match. I don't really get it. I don't really understand it or get it. It doesn't make sense, but it's wrestling. I will say, Randy Orton being part of the Wyatt family is interesting. It was cool to see the Shield do Shield shit. Shane jumping off shit is always fun. And it was good to see that even though they were supposed to be on the team and it mattered, Dean and AJ are going to fight over their title in a couple of weeks at TLC. I would like to thank you for joining me for another installment of Triple the Guy Speaks On, because I'm not going to talk about the main event. Because I don't know what to say to that shit. I have no comment. All this proves is Brock Lesnar was a waste of time. And I don't want to say that Brock Lesnar was a waste of time, but again, I don't really think they should have gave Brock the streak. And it's like, and I always say this every time I talk about Brock and The Undertaker and the streak and all this shit, Brock never did anything with it. So for this main event to happen between him and Goldberg, for Brock Lesnar to technically, and I'm calling this as a technical squash, because he speared him twice, jackhammered, beat him in less than 5 minutes, and I'm just sitting up here like, huh now? What in the fuck? Why? It made sense as a promotional tool, 0 sense as a wrestling story tool. That's the line right there. As a promotional tool for the video game everybody says sucks, that I'm not going to play, perfect. As a tool for wrestling storytelling, no. There is a difference between column A and column B, and this match falls heavily into column A, because I'm like, why? Brock Lesnar ran Goldberg into the post once. Goldberg speared him twice, jackhammered him. So now Goldberg is like, it don't make no sense, because Goldberg not finna get back in the ring. It ain't gonna be like this, gonna be a rematch at WrestleMania or something. Because it's like, you sit up here and wonder, it's like, they've been building Brock up like for a monster for years. And you threw it away on Goldberg ass in 2016. It's like all that work, because it's like the thing is, like I said, I've said this before. Brock never needed to beat the streak to be a monster. He never needed that. He could have took that. He could have took that L from the Undertaker and let it be that. But they wanted to build up Brock to be this monster. And now you just shitted that whole plan down the toilet because 51-year-old fucking Goldberg just whooped Brock Lesnar's ass in 5 minutes. I don't know because the thing is that it's not what it is that I'm supposed to think or anything like that. It's more of the intention of how and why this happened. How and why this would be booked this way, because the fuck. I don't know what you want me to say other than the things I have just said, because there is no more to say. There has to be some reason for this. Because I don't think Goldberg is finna walk out on Monday Night Raw talk about I just smashed Brock in 5 minutes. That's not gonna happen. Because again, history. Now, this is important. WrestleMania 20, one of the worst matches in the history of professional wrestling. The part 2 to that match was the match being shorter than Goldberg's entrance. You know what? Talking about this is making my head hurt. I understand this is what I do because I want to do it, because I'm trying to expand my horizon to further find my bonds and shit. I was expecting a lot more from that than 2 spears and a jackhammer. Because what are you going to do with this? Because what happened earlier this year at SummerSlam with Shane, you thought they were going to do something like that with Brock. But I don't think you can now, because Brock got the hold the L that he got his ass whooped by Goldberg. Because it ain't gonna be no Brock Goldberg 3. Because there shouldn't have been a Brock Goldberg 2 after Brock Goldberg 1, you see. So I have no idea what this does. Excuse me. For Brock in any way, what this does. Because see, if they would have had a match and Goldberg would have like barely won or something, after Brock had like whooped his ass and he just got a surprise spear and jackhammer, that's one thing. But this complete utter squash and domination of Brock Lesnar, that does a whole different thing. Because now, what can you believably do with Brock Lesnar that he done got his ass whooped by Goldberg? What can you believably do with this dude? So all that work you built into the Undertaker is dominating John Cena, that blah blah blah, Suplex City, da 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 da. What are you going to do with this? What can you do now? It's like, I'm through. How about that? I can't do this anymore, because I will be sitting up here discussing this in circles till I'm blue in the face, and I have things to do. It was a cool pay-per-view. The Survivor Series matches were okay. Miz Sami Zayn was cool. The Kalisto match was hot. Until Baron Corbin and Shane jumped off the top rope. And there was a triple powerbomb by the Shield. And for some reason, Goldberg squashed Brock Lesnar in the year 2016. That's a pay-per-view. I'm out of here. Look, I'm the one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. And I'd like to thank you for joining me for another episode of Triple the Guy Speaks On. And with that, I'll holler at you guys next time, man. Peace out.